In today's episode, we're exploring 5 disturbing last footage recorded of animal attacks, from a wildlife photographer who captured her own final moments, to a fisherman whose extreme fishing challenge became his last post. But first, let's begin with the first story, a woman's hunt for the perfect shot that ended in tragedy. It was October 14th, 2017, and the sprawling grounds of Wild Heart Tiger Sanctuary outside Austin, Texas, basked under the golden afternoon sun. The 200-acre facility housed over 30 rescued big cats in custom-built enclosures surrounded by double-fenced barriers and security cameras. The peaceful atmosphere was punctuated by the distant sounds of construction equipment from a nearby building project, creating an unusual backdrop of industrial noise against the sanctuary's natural setting. Rachel Kim, a 27-year-old freelance photographer from Seattle, had traveled over 1,200 miles to document the sanctuary's conservation efforts. For her growing Instagram following of 4,200 dedicated supporters, Rachel specialized in big cat photography and had built her reputation by capturing intimate portraits that other photographers couldn't achieve. Her fearless approach and calm demeanor around dangerous predators had earned her access to sanctuaries across the country. Rachel had been pursuing wildlife photography professionally for 3 years, building her portfolio through patient observation and an intuitive understanding of animal behavior. Her Korean-American heritage had instilled in her a deep respect for nature's balance, and she viewed her work as essential advocacy for endangered species. That afternoon, Rachel was documenting Raja, a 400-pound male Bengal tiger who had been rescued from a defunct roadside zoo 2 years earlier. The massive predator had been displaying signs of agitation due to the construction noise, pacing restlessly and making aggressive vocalizations. Bengal tigers are among the world's most powerful predators, with adult males weighing up to 500 pounds and possessing incredible strength, speed, and territorial instincts. These magnificent cats retain all their wild behaviors even in captivity, and they can become extremely aggressive when stressed or threatened. Construction noise and unfamiliar sounds can trigger territorial responses, making even well-socialized tigers unpredictable and dangerous. Rachel positioned herself near Raja's enclosure with her professional camera equipment, believing the double-fenced barrier provided adequate protection. Instead of recognizing the warning signs and ending the session, Rachel moved closer to capture more dramatic footage of the tiger's stress response. She activated her camera's video function and began filming Raja's increasingly agitated behavior. The tiger's territorial instincts reached a breaking point as the construction noise intensified. Raja's pacing became more frantic, and he began making threatening vocalizations while staring directly at Rachel's position. Raja's charge toward the fence was explosive and terrifying. The 400-pound tiger launched himself at the barrier with tremendous force, his massive frame striking the chain-link fencing with enough impact to bend the metal mesh. Rachel's camera captured every detail of the tiger's approach as he covered the distance in 3 powerful bounds. The double fence system had been designed to prevent exactly this type of incident, but Raja's size and fury allowed him to reach through gaps in the outer barrier. His massive paw struck Rachel's camera first, sending the expensive equipment flying while his razor-sharp claws raked across her face and neck. Rachel's screams filled the sanctuary as Raja's claws found purchase on her shoulder, his tremendous strength pulling her against the fence, while his other paw struck her head and torso repeatedly. The tiger's territorial fury drove him to continue the assault, his powerful limbs working to eliminate what he perceived as a threat to his domain. The attack continued for several minutes before sanctuary staff arrived with emergency equipment. Rachel's injuries were catastrophic, and she died from massive trauma before paramedics could transport her to the hospital. The investigation revealed that construction noise had created unprecedented stress levels for the sanctuary's animals, leading to heightened territorial behavior that made normal interactions dangerous. Raja was relocated to a more secure facility away from construction disturbances, while the sanctuary implemented enhanced safety protocols and noise management systems. Rachel's death sent shockwaves through the wildlife photography community and prompted industry-wide reviews of safety procedures around stressed animals. Her family established a foundation promoting photographer safety education, ensuring her dedication to conservation would continue through enhanced protection for both animals and their human advocates. But Rachel's tragic encounter was just the beginning of a series of deadly incidents where content creators prioritized dramatic footage over personal safety. Off the California coast, a surfer's dawn patrol session would become his final ride when he mistook a great white shark for potential viral content. It was July 8, 2015, and the Pacific Ocean stretched endlessly beyond Surf Beach, California, its surface painted in shades of gold and crimson by the rising sun. The remote stretch of coastline was known for its powerful waves and abundant marine life, including a growing population of seals that had attracted increasing numbers of great white sharks to the area. Warning signs posted along the beach advised surfers of recent shark sightings, but the perfect dawn conditions had drawn several dedicated wave riders to the water. Jake Morrison, a 24-year-old surf instructor from Santa Barbara, had arrived at the beach before sunrise to catch the morning's first waves. Jake maintained an Instagram following of 2,800 surfers who enjoyed his daily surf reports and action footage captured with his waterproof camera system. His posts often featured dramatic encounters with marine life, and he had recently been documenting the increased shark activity in the area with excitement rather than concern. Jake had been surfing these waters for over 8 years, building his skills and local knowledge through countless dawn patrol sessions. His laid-back California attitude and fearless approach to big waves had made him a popular instructor among tourists and locals alike. Jake's social media content focused on the thrill and beauty of surfing, and he took pride in capturing footage that other surfers couldn't or wouldn't attempt. That morning, Jake paddled out alone into the lineup, his action camera mounted on his surfboard to record his session. The water was unusually murky due to recent storms, and the seal population was particularly active near the rocky outcroppings that bordered the beach. Jake had noticed several large dark shapes moving beneath the surface but dismissed them as dolphins or seals that would make interesting background footage. Great white sharks are apex predators that can reach lengths of 20 feet and weights exceeding 5,000 pounds. These massive hunters are perfectly adapted for ambush attacks, using their incredible speed and power to strike prey from below with devastating force. Great whites are particularly active during dawn and dusk hours when seals are most vulnerable, and they often patrol areas with high seal populations. Their attacks on humans are typically cases of mistaken identity, as surfers on boards resemble seals when viewed from below. Jake had been surfing for nearly an hour when he spotted a large, dark shape moving beneath his board. Instead of paddling to shore immediately, Jake's excitement about potential footage overrode his survival instincts. He positioned his camera to capture what he believed might be a dolphin or large seal, never considering that the shape might represent mortal danger. The great white shark had been hunting in the area for several hours, drawn by the scent and movement of the seal colony. The massive predator had been tracking Jake's movements from below, and the surfer's decision to remain stationary above the shark triggered its attack response. The 18-foot female launched herself toward the surface with explosive power. Jake's camera captured the moment the great white breached near his position. Its massive jaws opened wide and rows of razor-sharp teeth clearly visible. The footage shows Jake's shocked reaction as he realized the true nature of his situation, but his response came too late to avoid the inevitable collision. The shark's massive head struck Jake's surfboard with tremendous force, splintering the fiberglass and foam construction while its powerful jaws clamped down on Jake's left leg. The impact drove Jake underwater, as the shark's weight and momentum carried both predator and prey beneath the surface. Jake's camera continued recording as it spun wildly through the water column. The great white's bite force, exceeding 4,000 pounds per square inch, instantly crushed bones and severed major arteries in Jake's leg. The shark's serrated teeth worked through muscle and tissue with devastating efficiency, while its powerful head shaking caused additional trauma. Jake's attempts to fight back were futile against a predator possessing overwhelming size and strength advantages. The underwater footage captured by Jake's camera shows the chaotic struggle between human and shark, with clouds of blood obscuring the view as the attack continued. Jake's movements grew weaker as massive blood loss and shock overwhelmed his system, while the great white maintained its grip with mechanical precision. Within minutes, Jake's struggles ceased as the shark's brutal assault proved fatal. The camera continued recording underwater for several more minutes, capturing disturbing audio of the feeding behavior before the battery finally died. The great white disappeared into the depths with its prey. Jake's camera washed ashore 3 days later, its waterproof housing intact and memory card containing the horrifying final moments of his life. The beach was immediately closed for 2 weeks, while authorities conducted an extensive search for Jake's remains, but his body was never recovered. The incident prompted enhanced shark warning systems and mandatory buddy system requirements for dawn patrol surfers. Jake's death became a cautionary tale about the dangers of treating apex predators as content opportunities, but his tragic encounter was far from unique among thrill-seekers who prioritized viral footage over survival instincts. Deep in the Montana wilderness, a solo hiker's fearless approach to documenting wildlife would lead her into a deadly confrontation with one of nature's most protective mothers. It was September 3rd, 2016, and the pristine wilderness of Glacier National Park stretched endlessly across the Montana landscape under brilliant autumn skies. The park's remote backcountry trails wound through valleys carved by ancient glaciers, where golden aspen groves contrasted sharply with towering evergreen forests. The crisp mountain air carried the scent of pine and the distant sound of rushing streams, while wildlife prepared for the approaching winter months. Maria Santos, a 31-year-old nature blogger from Denver, was 3 days into a solo backpacking trip through the park's most remote wilderness areas. Maria maintained a blog with 1,900 followers who enjoyed her authentic approach to documenting solo female hiking adventures. Her recent series titled Fearless Female Hiking had gained significant attention for showcasing challenging trails and wildlife encounters that intimidated other outdoor enthusiasts. Maria had been hiking solo for over 6 years, building her confidence and wilderness skills through countless adventures across the American West. Her Mexican-American heritage had instilled in her a deep connection to natural landscapes, and she viewed her solo journeys as spiritual quests that connected her to ancestral traditions. That afternoon, Maria was hiking through a remote alpine meadow when she discovered a grizzly bear family foraging in the late summer vegetation. The sight of the massive mother bear with her 2 cubs represented exactly the type of authentic wildlife encounter that her followers craved. Grizzly bears are among North America's most dangerous predators, with adult females weighing up to 400 pounds and possessing incredible strength and speed. Mother bears with cubs become exponentially more aggressive and territorial, viewing any human presence as a potential threat to their offspring. These protective instincts override any natural fear of humans, and mother bears will attack without warning to defend their young. Maria positioned herself on a small rise overlooking the meadow, approximately 75 yards from the bear family. She began narrating her encounter for the camera, describing the bear's behavior and her excitement at witnessing such an intimate family scene. As the cubs played and foraged, Maria gradually moved closer to capture better footage, not realizing she was violating the critical safety distance. The mother bear had been aware of Maria's presence from the moment she entered the meadow, but as Maria moved closer and one of the cubs wandered in her direction, the mother bear's protective instincts activated immediately. Maria's camera was recording when the mother bear's demeanor changed from calm foraging to aggressive alertness. The footage shows the bear's ears flattening against her head and her massive frame rising to full height as she assessed the threat level. The grizzly's charge across the meadow was swift and terrifying. The 350-pound mother bear covered the distance to Maria's position in seconds, her powerful legs propelling her massive frame with surprising speed. Maria's camera captured her own panicked attempt to retreat while still holding the recording device. The footage shows Maria stumbling backward over the uneven terrain while the bear closed the distance with relentless determination. The mother bear's massive paw struck Maria's back with bone-crushing force, driving her face first into the rocky ground while razor-sharp claws raked across her spine and shoulders. The impact knocked the camera from Maria's grip, but it continued recording from its position on the ground, capturing audio of the brutal attack that followed. The grizzly's powerful jaws clamped down on Maria's neck, her crushing bite force fracturing vertebrae and severing vital arteries. The mother bear's territorial fury drove her to continue the assault until she was certain the threat to her cubs had been eliminated. Within minutes, Maria's movements ceased as the grizzly's brutal attack proved fatal. The bear remained near Maria's body for several more minutes, ensuring the threat was neutralized before returning to her cubs. Hikers discovered Maria's body and camera equipment 2 days later when she failed to check in at the designated ranger station. The disturbing footage provided investigators with a complete record of the encounter, revealing how Maria's gradual approach had triggered the mother bear's defensive response. The bear family was tracked but left undisturbed, as the mother had been acting within normal protective behavior patterns. Maria's death devastated the solo hiking community and prompted enhanced educational programs about wildlife safety and proper distance protocols. The park implemented new requirements for solo hikers in grizzly habitat, including mandatory bear spray and communication devices. Yet even in controlled environments with safety protocols, content creators continued to push boundaries that proved fatal. At a Florida primate sanctuary, a veterinary student's educational filming would become a deadly lesson in the unpredictable nature of our closest animal relatives. It was April 19, 2014, and the humid Florida air hung heavy over the grounds of Sunshine Primate Sanctuary, a 50-acre facility dedicated to rescuing and rehabilitating chimpanzees retired from research and entertainment industries. The sanctuary's naturalistic enclosures were designed to provide the primates with enriching environments while ensuring visitor and staff safety through multiple barrier systems. The afternoon sun filtered through the canopy of oak and palm trees, creating dappled shadows across the facility's walkways. Kevin Walsh, a 29-year-old veterinary student from the University of Florida, was completing his weekend volunteer shift at the sanctuary while documenting primate behavior for his educational social media content. Kevin maintained a modest following of 1,500 people who appreciated his scientific approach to animal behavior and conservation education. His posts often featured insights into primate intelligence and emotional complexity that helped humanize these remarkable creatures. Kevin had been volunteering at the sanctuary for over a year, building relationships with both staff and animals while gaining valuable experience with exotic species. His veterinary training had given him a solid foundation in animal behavior and safety protocols, but his gentle demeanor and academic approach sometimes led him to underestimate the raw power and unpredictability of wild animals, even those in captivity. That afternoon, Kevin was conducting routine maintenance near the chimpanzee enclosures when he noticed Caesar, a 150-pound adult male, displaying signs of distress. The massive chimp was pacing aggressively and making threatening vocalizations, while other chimps in the enclosure remained calm. Kevin saw this as an educational opportunity to document primate emotional responses and began filming with his smartphone. Adult male chimpanzees are among the most dangerous animals in captivity, possessing the strength of 5 grown men combined with unpredictable temperaments that can shift from calm to violent without warning. Caesar weighed 150 pounds of pure muscle, with long arms capable of incredible reach and hands that could grip with crushing force. Chimpanzees have powerful jaws filled with sharp teeth, and they instinctively target the face, hands, and genitals during attacks. Kevin positioned himself near Caesar's enclosure, speaking in calm, educational tones for his camera while describing the chimp's agitated behavior. He moved closer to the barrier to capture better footage, believing his gentle approach and familiar presence would keep Caesar calm. What Kevin failed to recognize was that Caesar's agitation stemmed from territorial stress caused by construction work on a nearby enclosure. Kevin's phone was recording when Caesar's behavior escalated from agitation to explosive aggression. The footage shows Kevin continuing his educational narration, even as the massive chimp approached the barrier with obvious hostile intent. Caesar's eyes locked onto Kevin's position, and his aggressive vocalizations intensified as he recognized a target for his territorial fury. The attack came with lightning speed and devastating force. Caesar's massive arm shot through a gap in the enclosure barrier, his powerful hand clamping down on Kevin's shoulder with crushing grip strength exceeding 1,800 pounds per square inch. The impact pulled Kevin against the fence while Caesar's other hand reached for his head and neck. Kevin's phone captured his shocked reaction as Caesar's incredible strength dragged him against the barrier. The chimp's long fingers found purchase on Kevin's face and scalp, his razor-sharp fingernails raking across skin while his powerful grip prevented any possibility of escape. The footage shows Kevin's desperate struggle as Caesar's hands worked with methodical brutality, targeting his face, neck, and hands with the precision of a predator that understood human vulnerability. Kevin's screams for help echoed across the sanctuary as Caesar's territorial fury drove him to continue the attack with relentless intensity. Other volunteers heard Kevin's cries and rushed to the scene, but Caesar's aggressive posture made immediate intervention extremely dangerous. Kevin's movements grew weaker as massive blood loss and trauma overwhelmed his system. Kevin died from his injuries before paramedics could stabilize him for transport to the hospital. His phone was recovered with the disturbing footage intact, providing investigators with a complete record of how quickly the situation had deteriorated. Caesar was eventually sedated and relocated to a more secure facility with enhanced barriers and stricter interaction protocols. The investigation revealed that construction noise had created unprecedented stress levels among the primates, leading to heightened territorial behavior that made normal interactions deadly. Kevin's death sent shockwaves through the veterinary and primatology communities, prompting enhanced safety training for students working with dangerous species. His family established a scholarship fund for aspiring veterinarians, emphasizing the importance of respecting wild animals regardless of their captive status. But even in Florida's seemingly peaceful recreational environments, content creators continued to push boundaries with apex predators that had no tolerance for human intrusion. In the Everglades, a fisherman's extreme fishing challenge would become his final cast when he hooked more than he bargained for. It was June 12, 2018, and the vast wetlands of Everglades National Park stretched endlessly under the blazing Florida sun. The ancient ecosystem pulsed with life as countless species went about their daily survival routines in one of America's most pristine wilderness areas. A small fishing dock jutted into a quiet canal, surrounded by towering cypress trees and dense sawgrass that concealed the park's most dangerous residents. Tony Rodriguez, a 35-year-old weekend angler from Miami, had driven deep into the park's remote backcountry to film the latest episode of his extreme fishing series for his 3,100 Instagram followers. Tony's content focused on fishing in increasingly dangerous and challenging locations, and he had been building his reputation by targeting spots that other anglers avoided due to safety concerns. Tony had been fishing South Florida waters for over 15 years, but his recent pivot to extreme content had led him to take risks that his experience couldn't protect him from. His followers craved dramatic encounters and close calls, and Tony had been delivering increasingly dangerous content to maintain their engagement and grow his audience. That afternoon, Tony set up his equipment on the isolated dock, positioning multiple cameras to capture different angles of his fishing action. The location was known for its large alligator population, but Tony viewed this as an exciting challenge rather than a legitimate safety concern. He had encountered gators before from the safety of his boat, but fishing from a fixed dock presented entirely different risks. American alligators are perfectly adapted ambush predators that can launch themselves partially out of the water to capture prey. Adult males can reach lengths of 14 feet and weights exceeding 1,000 pounds, with explosive power that allows them to breach the surface with devastating force. Their territorial nature makes them particularly aggressive around feeding areas, and they view any disturbance in their domain as either prey or competition to be eliminated. Tony had been fishing for nearly 2 hours when his heavy tackle rod bent dramatically. Instead of the large base he expected, Tony had hooked a 12-foot male alligator that had been resting in the deep water near the dock. Rather than cutting his line immediately and retreating to safety, Tony saw an opportunity for the most dramatic content of his career. Tony activated his phone's video function and began narrating the encounter, describing his excitement at hooking such a massive predator. The alligator's initial response was to dive deeper and attempt to break free, but the heavy fishing line held firm. Tony's excitement overrode his survival instincts as he fought to bring the massive reptile closer to the surface. The alligator's prehistoric brain recognized the fishing line as a threat that needed to be eliminated. The massive predator began swimming toward the source of its irritation, using its powerful tail to propel its 800-pound frame through the water with surprising speed. Tony's camera captured the moment the gator's massive head broke the surface near the dock. Instead of immediately cutting his line and retreating, Tony leaned over the dock's edge to get better footage of the surfaced alligator. His phone recorded the massive reptile's approach as it swam directly toward the dock, its small eyes focused on the source of its discomfort. Tony's excited narration continued, even as the alligator closed the distance with obvious aggressive intent. The alligator's explosive breach from the water was captured in terrifying detail by Tony's camera. The massive predator launched itself partially onto the dock with tremendous force, its powerful jaws snapping shut just inches from Tony's position. The impact of 800 pounds of muscle and fury striking the wooden structure sent vibrations through the entire dock. Tony's attempt to jump backward came too late, as the alligator's momentum carried it further onto the dock than either predator or prey had anticipated. The massive reptile's jaws clamped down on Tony's leg just below the knee, its crushing bite force instantly shattering bones and severing major arteries. Tony's scream of shock and pain was captured clearly by his still-recording phone. The alligator's weight and Tony's struggles caused both to fall into the canal, where the reptile's aquatic advantages became overwhelming. Tony's phone continued recording from the dock, capturing the audio of the struggle in the water below as the alligator began its signature death roll. The violent spinning motion caused additional trauma while simultaneously drowning its victim. Tony's calls for help grew weaker as the combination of massive blood loss, crushing injuries, and drowning overwhelmed his system. The alligator's relentless death roll continued with mechanical precision, each rotation causing additional damage while ensuring the threat was completely eliminated. Within minutes, Tony's struggles ceased as the massive predator's assault proved fatal. The canal water turned crimson around the attack site as the alligator maintained its grip on its victim. Tony's phone continued recording from the dock for several more minutes, capturing disturbing audio of the feeding behavior before the memory card finally filled. The massive reptile eventually disappeared into the deeper water with its prey. Park rangers discovered Tony's abandoned equipment and phone the following morning, when he failed to return to the boat ramp as scheduled. The disturbing footage provided investigators with a complete record of how Tony's pursuit of extreme content had led to his death. The massive alligator was tracked and relocated to a more remote section of the park. Tony's death prompted enhanced safety education for content creators, filming in dangerous environments, and stricter enforcement of park regulations regarding fishing activities. His family filed lawsuits against social media platforms, arguing that the pursuit of viral content had created a culture that encouraged increasingly dangerous behavior among influencers. Thanks for watching. Just when you think you've seen the most shocking moments, click the next video that will show you why some encounters with nature's deadliest animals should never be filmed.